Yes, I didn't say. What are you looking so sad about, Jam?
Man, I'm surprised at you. I mean, I'm really insulted. I mean, that's not right what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talk. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I mean, I'm a hometown man, and you talk about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, one time during my career, I went on a bomber run tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
What's happening, my people? It's Cat Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Salute to everyone and welcome to another episode of Cat Sports, the Boxtorian. Today, a look at some all-time great stoppages. How's the family today? This is the Hump Day edition of Cat Sports, the Boxtorian. On the way downhill after this. Yeah, today we're going to look at some all-time great stoppage wins through the history of boxing. We got Sam Langford and Joe Jeanette, the longest fight in the 20th century, 49 rounds. Because remember the 110-round fight and the 75-round fight we talked about, that was in the 19th century, the 1800s. So this 49-round fight we're going to talk about today is the longest fight in the 20th century. And we're going to talk about some recent history. You know, we're always talking about the 60s, 50s, 40s, way back. We're going to talk about some stoppages that happened within the past 10 years, okay? Like, you know, you see that monster from Baltimore. We're going to talk about a couple of his stoppages. Couple of Deontay Wilder stoppages the Mexican Monster. Yeah, we're going to talk about some recent history today, too. And that Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns fight, we're going to dig down deep into that one and talk about the lead up to it and really look good. We talked about that fight a lot, but we never really took a good, hard look at it. That's what we're going to do today. And then we got some other great stoppages that's happened over the years. The Drunk Irishman in the building. What's up? It's the Drunk Irishman. Good to see you today, bro. We're going to talk about some stoppages. So like I was saying, we're going to talk about some recent history, okay? Some fights that happened within the last 10 years today. All that today on Cash Sports the Box Story, bringing you all that boxing history. Okay, let's get into the highlight of boxing history today is the bantamweight 118. You know, we went through all the weight classes from heavyweight to 105 and looked at the all-time greats, and now we went from heavyweight, we're down to bantamweight at the current top 10 in each currently active fighters. And when we finish this in like 4 days, I'm going to give you my Cash Sports currently active top 10 pound for pound, which is very subjective. You know, no right or wrong pound for pound. It's just what you think about it. I'm going to give you mine. Probably be next Wednesday. We got 115, 112, 108, 105, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, tune in next Wednesday for the Cash Sports currently active pound for pound. Top 10 fighters in the sport right now. Okay, but let's look at these bantamweights. Top 10 currently active bantamweights in boxing today. Let's move to the Of course, that's that bad man, Junto Nakatani. You know, he got to be the number one bantamweight. You know, some weight classes, you know, you have to put a little thought into it, get the number ones, but 118 is one of them where it's a no-brainer. You know, like heavyweight, no-brainer, Usyk. 168, no-brainer, Canelo. 122, no-brainer, the Monster. 118 today, no-brainer. Nakatani is number one, right? You don't even have to really, you just pencil him in as soon as you start the list. Currently active 118 pounds, that's number one, Nakatani. Then you can go to number two. Don't even have to think about it, right? To see who the number one at 118 is. Junto Nakatani. But first, let's look at a little history. Quick history of the division before we talk about these current top 10s, okay? Little history of bantamweight 118. Now, the division was first established by the Amateur Boxing Association in the 1890s. It would subsequently appear under other rules, such as the London Prize Ring rules and the Queensberry rules, in which the weight limit fluctuated between 105 pounds and 116 pounds. Now, the National Sporting Club officially sanctioned it in 1909 at the current weight of 118 pounds. Okay. Now, Brazilian knockout artist Ida Joffre is considered the inaugural modern bantamweight champion. He would win the WBA and WBC versions of the title in 1963 against Katsutashi Ioka, right? The IBF and WBO followed suit with their own versions in 1984 and 1989, respectively. The longest title reign at bantamweight is held by American boxer Orlando Canizales with 16 title defenses. Now, some notable bantamweight champions through the years are Tommy Kelly. Tommy is considered the old-time bantamweight champion way back in around 1900, but officially Ida Joffre is the first champion. But some guys that held the title over the years: Tommy Kelly, Panama Al Brown, Orlando Canizales, George Dixon, Sixto Escobar, Ida Joffre, Carlos Durante, Ruben Olivares, Tim Austin, Rafael Marquez, and Huzumi Nasagawa. Each of those guys held the title at some point in their careers, and many others. Those were the big, huge names. And many other big names, too. Mike Mazik. What's up, Mike? Good to see you today. Mike is in the building. Okay, we're going to look at the top 10 currently active bantamweights, 118 pounds. Let's salute, Mike. Okay, let's get started with that. Like I said, number one, no-brainer, Junto Nakatani. Okay, Junto. That's Junto on the right there. Okay, a Japanese boxer with a record of 31 wins, no losses, 24 knockouts. Nakatani holds both the WBC and IBF titles in the division currently. He is known for a powerful southpaw boxing style that emphasizes long-range punching and a strong, wide base. Junto Nakatani, number one. Okay, number two is Yoshiki Takai or Takai. Yoshiki Takai. Okay, Yoshiki, number two at bantamweight currently. Another Japanese boxer, known for his devastating punching power and ability to dominate fights early. Takai is the current WBO bantamweight champion, holding a record of 11 wins, no losses, 9 knockouts, 81.8% with knockout to wins ratio right now. Okay. Number three, Ryosuke Nishida. Ryosuke Nishida. Okay. Wait a minute. Is that still well, they say black people all look alike. Yeah, I think that's still what's number two? I'm sorry. Takai. I think that's Nishida right there. On the right, yeah. Okay, Ryosuke Nishida. Sorry, okay. Nishida is the former IBF bantamweight champion, having held the title from 2024 to 2025. He is known for a sharp, cutting stance and methodical approach to boxing. He fights in a southpaw stance, 10 wins, 1 loss, 2 knockouts. Okay, Ryosuke Nishida. Okay, number 4, Seiya Tsutsumi. Seiya Tsutsumi. Yeah, on the left. Seiya Tsutsumi. Tsutsumi is a pressure fighter who throws a lot of punches and is crafty with his stance changes as a switch hitter. He's the current WBA champion at bantamweight. 12 wins, no losses, 8 knockouts. Okay. He also has 3 draws already through 15 fights. 3 draws already. Wow, he's gonna have one of them old-time records, like 50 or 60 draws. Got 3 draws already in 15 fights. What's going on? Seiya. But Seiya Tsutsumi is number 4. Number 5 is Daigo Higa. Daigo Higa. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's why I can't see the daggone light off. Shit. Half blind already and got the light off. Now, Higa is a Japanese boxer from Okinawa, Japan. He's a former champion at flyweight and rounds out an all-Japanese top 5 at bantamweight. 21 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws, 19 knockouts, 90.4% knockout ratio. Yeah, that's much better. I was struggling. Okay, number 6 is Takuma Inoue, younger brother of the Monster. Takuma Inoue, that's Takuma in the middle with his father who trains him in Monster, and the Monster on the left. Okay. Now, Takuma Inoue is a former champion in the division, holding the WBA title from 2023 to 2024. He developed a strong work ethic and technical skills and won a bronze medal in the flyweight division at an international amateur competition. He is the younger brother of super bantamweight champion Naoya Inoue and is trained by their father. 20 wins, 2 losses, 5 knockouts. Takuma Inoue. Number 7 at bantamweight, Emmanuel Rodriguez. That's Emmanuel on the right. One of the few non-Japanese in the top 10. I think Japanese got like 8 of the top 10. Okay, Emmanuel was number 7, Emmanuel Rodriguez. Now, Rodriguez is a Puerto Rican professional boxer who was a 2-time IBF champion at bantamweight between 2018 and 2024. Emmanuel was 22 wins with 3 losses, 13 knockouts. Okay, number 8 at 118, we have Tenshin Nasukawa. Tenshin Nasukawa. Now, Nasukawa fights out of the southpaw stance and is primarily a counterpuncher. 7 wins, no losses, 2 knockouts. Okay. Number 9, Jason Maloney. There's Jason on the left. Jason Maloney. Mike Grimm in the building, finishing up bantamweight 118. Mike, salute Mike Grimm. Good to see you today, bro. All right. We're going to get it. We got a good one today. We're going to talk about some great stoppages. And we're going to piece on some stoppages that just happened within the last 10 years, some recent history today. But Jason Maloney is number 9. Maloney is an Australian boxer and former WBO bantamweight champion. He had the title from May 2023 to May 2024, 1 year. He fights out of New South Wales, Australia. Jason's twin brother, Andrew, is also a professional boxer. Jason is 27 wins, 4 losses, 19 knockouts. And rounding out the top 10 at 118 is Alejandro Santiago. Keep hitting the button. Alejandro is Alejandro on the right. Okay. Is it him and Nonito? No. I thought that was their fight. I don't think so. No. Now, Santiago is a Mexican pro boxer. He held the WBC bantamweight title from July 2023 to February 2024. Santiago is currently 38 fights into his pro career with 28 wins, 5 losses, 5 draws, 14 knockouts. Okay, there you have it. The current top 10, 118 pounders bantamweight. Tomorrow is junior bantamweight 115. No brainer at number 1 for tomorrow, either 115. Bam Rodriguez. He's already on the schedule for his next fight. He just fought last weekend. Yeah. On the schedule for November for his next outing. Bam is. Okay. So, yeah, we're going to talk about this fight. This is the longest fight of the 20th century, 49 rounds. Because remember that the 75 round one we talked about is the 110 round. They were all in the 1800s, 19th century. So, yeah. This was between Sam McVeigh and Joe Jeanette. There they are. That's Sam McVeigh on the left and Joe Jeanette on the right. Okay. So let's get that going for us. And yeah, like I said, we got some recent history today. We got a couple of tank knockouts, couple. Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder knockout. Mexican Monster knockouts in there. Jermel Charlo. Yeah, we're going to talk about some recent history in a while. Other half rounds, though. But this one is called Pandemonium in Paris, right? Because, a lot of the black fighters back around this time, early 1900s, went overseas to Europe to fight. And a lot of them went to Paris. Okay. So let's get into this. Pandemonium in Paris. Talk about this great 49-round fight these two fighters had in the early 1900s. Okay. Yeah, they changed the screen. It's hard to see with the cursor and all that stuff, man. It's crazy. But okay. Pandemonium in Paris. Appreciate everybody in the building so far. We got Mike Rim, Mike Massick, the Drunk Irishman, and Miss Cat. And then your boy just looking on. Appreciate you too. Pandemonium in Paris. In 1909, two great black heavyweights endured 3 hours of ring warfare in a legendary fight to the finish. Okay? 3 hours. April 17th, 1909, Paris, France. That's where this went down at. Sam McVeigh and Joe Jeanette were two of the best heavyweights in the world in 1909. But because they were black men, neither one would get a shot at the championship of the world. Now, the reigning champion was a black man, Jack Johnson. He was the first black American to win the title. And he knew that racist America would pay nothing to watch him defended against another black fighter. Whereas he could cash in by taking on a string of overmatched white fighters. Now, it didn't help the case of either Jeanette or McVeigh It did not help the case of either Jeanette or McVeigh that they were talented, dangerous fighters, because Johnson was looking for easier pickings. That thing about the black fighter versus black fighter wouldn't sell. The big reason was he didn't want to lose that title. And Jeanette and McVeigh were two dangerous fighters. Jack Johnson wanted sure things, So no, he wasn't going to fight them if they had been white with the talent they had. Okay. Now, 24-year-old Sam McVeigh was born in Texas, but raised in California, and spent his early years as a farm laborer before turning to prize fighting in 1902. He had tussled with Johnson 3 times, all lost, before Johnson won the regular heavyweight title, because Johnson was the colored heavyweight champion too. So McVeigh had fought Johnson before. They were all lost. But he had been a novice in those matchups with Johnson and improved a great deal in the years since those Johnson fights. He was an aggressive brawler. He stood 5'10.5" tall. And what he lacked in boxing technique, he made up for with a will to win and inordinate physical strength. Now, because of his aggressive style, very dark skin, and African features, the racist American press routinely described Sam in bestial terms. He had made Paris his home over the preceding 2 years, right? Finding France less discriminatory than the United States. And he went undefeated in 18 fights since he arrived in France. Right? And he was very, very, very sensationally popular over there. Sam McVeigh was. Now, he was the blacksmith's son. No, Joe Jeanette. Joe Jeanette was a blacksmith's son from New Jersey, right? He had been fighting professionally for less than 5 years. He too had already fought Johnson in the ring early on, 7 times, right? He had 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 draw. And the other 4 fights ended in no decisions. Because we talked about that yesterday, no decisions. Some states, if nobody got knocked out, there was no official winner in the fight. Or some agreements between the fighters. They would go a certain distance. If both fighters were standing at the end, then there was no decision. And then that's where the newspaper decision come in. The newspaper writers would get together and pick a winner and print in the newspaper. But they probably didn't do it for the black fighters, the way the racism was and everything. But yeah, they had 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw between them, and the other 4 were no decisions between Joe Jeanette and Jack Johnson. Now, Jeanette was a clever, versatile fighter, equally at home boxing on the outside or shortening his punches on the inside. Now, his light skin, more traditionally handsome features than a McVeigh, an impressive build, had some describing him as a black Adonis. Now, his best weapon was thought to be his left hook. Now, intrigued by McVeigh's success abroad, Jeanette arrived in Paris around the beginning of 1909. To that point, he had lost since last facing Johnson in November 1906. That was his last fight, was against Johnson in 1906. Defiant Arnie won. What's up, Defiant Arnie won? Yeah, we talking about some old, some knockout stoppages today, but this one is from 1909, I think, between Joe Jeanette and Sam McVeigh. This is the longest fight of the 20th century, last 49 rounds, right? Okay, so let's salute Defiant Arnie one. Let's continue. Now, they both had moved to Paris because of the racism and stuff in the United States. And both were more, of course, more popular over there, right? Now, the French capital of Paris was not big enough for 2 stellar heavyweight stars, and a clash was inevitable. One paper recorded their challenges had been hurled right and left by both men. Challenges had been hurled right and left by both men while they talked down the money in the music halls. Now, since Jeanette, McVeigh, and their black contemporary Sam Langford remained locked out of the world championship picture by virtue of their skin color, they were left to fight each other dozens of times over the coming years, often for the so-called colored heavyweight championship of the world. Yeah, because another black fighter, Sam Langford and Harry Wills, fought 24 times. 24 times. On February 20th, 1909, that recognition was on the line when McVeigh beat Jeanette over 20 rounds in Paris. Because remember, this was the first fight, scoring 3 knockdowns in the process. The action was so tame that many derided the fight as a sham orchestrated by the 2 fighters and their camps. Now, the defeat was Jeanette's first in 2.5 years in 18 fights. But some were already talking of relegating him to the discard pile because of that fight. Everybody thought it was a fix because there wasn't a lot of action and stuff in that first fight. Imagine that, 20 rounds, and the people still wasn't satisfied. So a rematch was arranged and held in the same location, Paris, France, on April 17th, 1909. Scheduled as a fight to the finish, meaning the rounds were unlimited, fight to the finish. Only one man can be standing at the end. Unlimited round, right? Fight to the finish until someone was knocked out or disqualified. It would be a titanic clash that would establish both men as ring immortals, championship or not. Now, sources differ as to who was the betting favorite coming into the fight. Promoters must have been disappointed by the comparatively dismal turnout of roughly 2,500 persons, about half the venue's capacity. Now, the rumors of a fix surrounding their first encounter had kept many people away for the rematch, right? Because remember, everybody thought the first fight was a fix. So that's why the attendance was so low for the second fight. Only like half of the venue was filled. Now, as the fight got underway, McVeigh's aggression gave him the upper hand. Perhaps too cautious at the beginning, Jeanette kept at a distance that backfired. He was missing more shots than his opponent. In round 5, a combination of a left hook followed by a right cross dropped Jeanette. Okay? Left hook, right cross dropped Joe Jeanette. After barely surviving the rest of the round, Joe gradually found his range and worked his way into the fight. By round 9, he was landing hard combinations that rocked McVeigh. McVeigh's nose bled profusely and his left eye was starting to swell. And the momentum had clearly changed. Once again, because the momentum had changed to Jeanette at that point, between round 5 and round 9. But the momentum had changed once again by round 12, when McVeigh found a second win and resumed his aggression. He had Jeanette in trouble with several hard blows, but an excess of the resin used on the ring floor caused the lunging McVeigh to repeatedly slip to the floor in Jeanette's corner, allowing Jeanette time to escape the round on his feet. Okay? Jeanette tumbled down once as well. Now, for several rounds following McVeigh's dominance, while Jeanette's blows struggled to find their target, both fighters appeared to be either tired or saving their energy for the later rounds. Because remember, it was unlimited rounds. So how do you pace yourself for an unlimited fight, right? You have no idea how many rounds you're fighting. I knew of one, they went 110 rounds, remember? Now, Jeanette turned aggressive at the start of round 19, but McVeigh dodged all the incoming fire and retaliated with an explosive left hook that put Jeanette down for a second time. Now, pleased by the surprise after several slow rounds, the crowd roared disapproval. So they was unhappy after the first fight, but they were very happy with the performance the fighters had put it in this time in the rematch. Now, after Jeanette rose, McVeigh clobbered him down twice more. Okay, knocked him down 2 more times. Oh, come on. Before the round was over. So Jeanette's cornermen splashed. Wait a minute. Hold on for a moment. I got something going on with my equipment here. Give me one moment, please. Okay, here we go. I got it. Okay, yeah. So he knocked Jeanette down 2 times more before the round ended. Now, Jeanette's cornermen splashed water on his face to awaken him while he lay on the canvas, a tactic that McVeigh shouted as unfair. Now, between the rounds, Jeanette's handlers administered oxygen to their fighter from a tank that was on hand, believing it would help energize him. Okay? This was a new technique only recently introduced during a boxing fight in England. And it had been a subject of controversy of late, but it yet to be banned. Okay? Incidentally, modern physicians insist that administering oxygen in a boxing match or NFL sideline for that matter has no positive effect on athletic performance outside of a placebo effect. But anyway, McVeigh's corner also used oxygen during the fight, but they mixed it with nitrogen and sprayed the mix on a cut around McVeigh's eye, believing it would freeze his bleeding. It was likely a painful procedure for their fighter to endure, and one that probably worsened the swelling, even as it stemmed the bleeding, right? The worst of 2 worlds there. You're stopping the bleeding, but it's making the swelling worse. But I guess the better thing is to stop the bleeding. But I don't know. Because, the swelling around the eyes could blind him, right? So, yeah, pick your poison. Stop the bleeding, but make the swelling worse. Now, as the rounds dragged on, the fight was not so much an action-packed slugfest as a brutal, slogging war of attrition, reminiscent of the old-style bare-knuckle boxers of the 18th and 19th centuries. A New York Times article praised this fight as the greatest fight witnessed in France since bare knuckles legends John L. Sullivan and Charlie Mitchell fought their 30-round draw at Chantilly in 1888, over 20 years ago. They were saying this was the best fight since the bare knuckles era, okay? In round 26, a right hand pummeled Jeanette to the floor for a 5th time. Only the bell saved him from a knockout. But the fighters were clearly slowing down, clinching and wrestling more than punching. 2 rounds later, Jeanette was down again and survived Ms. McVeigh's subsequent desperate assault. As exhaustion set in, the fighters began slipping again, and the effort of rising only tired them out more. As the fight approached round 40, a half-blind, badly winded, and blood-spattered McVeigh looked ready to go. He was stumbling around the ring in pursuit of his opponent, and his punches were pathetically sloppy. Having suffered 6 knockdowns and multiple other falls, Jeanette seemed to have too little left in his tank to take advantage of McVeigh's vulnerable state. The 40th round went by. The 45th went by too. By round 48, McVeigh had nothing left. Jeanette landed multiple uppercuts on the inside, but they lacked the energy to take out the endured McVeigh. Okay? So, once the bell started, round 49, McVeigh crossed the ring and offered a handshake to his rival, conceding defeat. A ringside reporter wrote that the battered McVeigh no longer has a human face. After roughly 3.5 hours of hard effort and punishment, McVeigh could take no more. Sam McVeigh, crowned by Parisians as the king of boxing, falls from his pedestal. Poor Sam, wrote a French reporter at ringside. Now, Jeanette's elated cornermen carried him around the ring as the crowd applauded his grueling come-from-behind victory. He had endured at least 7 knockdowns, possibly more, and 48 rounds of hell to emerge victorious. Decades later, historian and Ring Magazine founder Nat Fleischer would claim that Jeanette and McVeigh rose from a total of 38 knockdowns between them. But he never named his source for this claim. Subsequent writers adopted the print the legend approach to this, and it perpetuated what is almost certainly a myth. Now, the hours-long trial needed no exaggeration to endure as a clash and testament to the greatness of its 2 participants. In Fleischer's own magazine, The Ring, Jeanette's corner man called the match the most grueling fight I've ever seen. It lasted 49 rounds, and what a brawl it was. He continued, there were so many knockdowns, I lost count of them. Now, sadly, neither man would get their more than deserved shot at the World Championship. In all, the duo would face each other on 5 more occasions after that. So they made 7 off because they had 2 already, for 5 more times. McVeigh winning 1, Jeanette winning 1, 2 ending in a draw, and 1 ending in a no decision. Championship or not, both men were deservedly inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in the 1990s. Okay, that was one hell of a fight right there. Sam McVeigh and Joe Jeanette. Wow. Okay, now we're gonna dig into this Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns one. We talked about it a lot, but we've never really gone into it like we're going to look at it today. Leonard Hearns won. Leonard Hearns won. Okay, how's everybody? Appreciate everybody today. This is the Wednesday afternoon hump day edition of Cash Sports the Box Story, bringing all that boxing history. On the way downhill through the weekend. Sanders Dias back in action this weekend. Yeah. The group is in there too this weekend. Yeah. Lonnie Daniels will be her opponent for undisputed women's heavyweight title. And the group is the only fighter, man or woman, that's been undisputed in the 4-belt era in 3 weight classes. Right? It was middleweight, junior middleweight, and heavyweight. She actually got middleweight and went back down and then got junior middleweight. Some people think super middleweight, but no, she wasn't undisputed at super middleweight. A lot of people think for her and Savannah Marshall, but it wasn't undisputed. No, that fight. I wouldn't mind seeing that again. Both from Savannah Marshall. Or Franchon and Stopages Green, but some people saying Stopages Green not interested in the rematch with Franchon. I don't know why. That would be undisputed. They both got 2 belts at super middleweight. So why? That's legacy, right? I'm trying to get this up. Give me like 2 minutes, and then we'll be ready. Okay. We got plenty of time. But I don't understand why today you don't want to get back and get that undisputed. You did a great job against, but you know how hard it is to fight Franchon though. You know, you gotta put on your WWF hat when you're fighting Franchon. But it's gonna be physical. Franchon is a big girl too. Mm-hmm. Okay, I believe I got it. Let's see if this works out. Anybody come in? Let's see. I don't know. Yeah, here we go. We are good. We're gonna look at Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns. Now, what are the best come from behind knockouts or stoppages in boxing history you have ever seen? The best come from behind knockout I have ever seen personally was Ray Leonard stopping Tommy Hearns for the undisputed welterweight title. That was 1981. Let's talk about that. Okay. Now that was 44 years ago, right? 1981, 2025, 30 to 10. To the 8th degree of 14 minus 7 divided by 100. Yeah, 44 years ago, 81, right? 44 years ago, on September 16th, 1981, in Las Vegas, WBC welterweight champion Tommy Hearns met WBA welterweight champion Sugar Ray Leonard for the undisputed championship, right? Because that was it. WBA and WBC was undisputed at that time. IBF was on the way in like another year or so, but wasn't around yet, okay? Now, both men had beaten every man they faced at least once, and one was an undefeated champion, okay? What followed that night was one of the best welterweight fights of all time and one of the most dramatic come-from-behind stoppage wins of all time. Who were the 2 combatants that night? Tommy Hearns was undefeated, 31-0, with 30 knockouts before he met Leonard the first time. Oh, come on, man. Why they do that? You know, I got to figure out the knockout rate. Why they do that? Oh, boy, I got to stop. That's a knockout ratio of 96.7%. 31 and over 30 knockouts. Only one man that went the distance, and I can't remember who that was. That must have been very early in Hearn's career. Wow. 31 and over 30 knockouts when he met Leonard the first time. And you know what was so weird was they didn't meet again until 1989. We thought that after their first great fight in 81, they was going to meet an immediate rematch or a couple of years later at welterweight. They met again in 1989. I think it was super middleweight. 8 years later, nowhere near the same weight class. Nobody even expected that, but yeah. 8 years before we ever got that rematch, and it was not the same. Both were older, past their primes, but yeah. We did get a rematch, but it was not when we wanted it. What's up, Pearl, sir? How are you today? Salute. Yeah, we talking about some great stoppages. And we're going to talk about some after this recent history within the last 10 years, you know, recent history. We're going to talk about some Wilder stoppages, some tank stoppages, the Mexican monster stoppages, some recent history. Yeah, it's history. It's going to be recent. But let's get back to Sugar Ray. Let's salute Pearl. Sugar Ray and Thomas Hearn, 1981. Okay. Yeah, Hearns was 31 and over 30 knockouts, 96.7% wins the knockout ratio. Now, Hearns won the WBA World Welterweight title a year before meeting Leonard in the first fight. He beat a Hall of Fame champion to win it, Pepino Cuevas. The Sugar Ray Leonard was 35 and 1, 25 knockouts. So you know that who that one loss was to the hands of Stone, Roberto Duran. Okay, that was Sugar Ray's one loss. Should have been two, but he cheated the second fight against Duran. Now, Leonard had won the WBC title back from Hall of Famer Roberto Duran after he cheated. I added that. Leonard had won the WBC title back from Hall of Famer Roberto Duran 10 months earlier, taking the first rematch the two Hall of Famers had. Okay? Now, the first Leonard Hearns fight in one of boxing's greatest comebacks by Leonard. This was a truly classic fight. The outboxer became a swarmer, while the boxer puncher became an outboxer. Because Hearns' boxing ability was very unrated at that point, because I just told you he had 31 knockouts, 30 knockouts in 31 fights. So nobody knew how good of a boxer Hearns was, because he was getting everybody out of there. But they found out in that fight right there how good of a boxer Hearns was, okay? But it was a classic matchup. Never has a fight featured more style changes between two great fighters in one of the ultimate chess match battles of boxing history. The great Marvin Hagler said, Leonard Hearns won was a great fight, a true classic. Everyone thought it would be a fight between a puncher and a boxer, but they got which one was which wrong, right? Because Leonard had underrated power and Hearns had underrated boxing ability. Okay. It was no surprise to Leonard's manager that Hearns was able to outbox Leonard almost the entire fight. When Ray was preparing to box Floyd Mayweather Sr., Dave Jacobs brought in Tommy Hearns to spar with him. Okay? Dave Jacobs was Sugar Ray Leonard's manager. And the results of that sparring stunned Jacobs and set the stage for what would happen in Leonard Hearns 1. Hearns was a great boxer. They're very underrated, especially then because he was knocking everybody out, right? Now, Dave Jacobs said, it surprised me how well Hearns boxed in that sparring. But believe it or not, Tommy outboxed Ray. I was shocked because nobody's ever outboxed Ray, but he actually outboxed Ray. When Jacobs was asked about what happened at Leonard Hearns 1, he said, I was not shocked. I had seen Tommy outbox Ray before in that sparring. Ray did what he had to do to win and made it a slugfest. Now, let's look at how the fight unfolded until round 13. Okay. Oh, let's see what's going on in the chat. Anything? No, nothing. Okay, let's continue. Let's look at how the fight unfolded up to round 13 when Sugar Ray broke it open. Okay. How did it unfold up to round 13? And I done lost my place. Oh, there we go. Now the fight began as everyone expected it to, with Leonard boxing from a distance and Hearns doing the stalking, right? And Hearns was using his left hand to set up his right and waiting for a chance to drop that dreaded right hand on Leonard. He had it cocked. Just wait for that moment. Now Leonard had trouble from the outset of round 1 getting into range with Hearns' near half-foot reach advantage and Ray-like jab. You see, that's what happened to my man Duran. You know, Duran had to get inside because he wasn't nowhere near the boxer Leonard was, and Duran wasn't going to outbox Hearns, and he had to get inside. He just had to go through too much to get inside, man. And that one time Hearns let him slip past that jab, and when Duran got in there, that right hand was just waiting on it, you know. Yeah. Hearns just had too much size advantage on Duran. And it was giving Leonard problems. The master boxer, right? He had trouble getting past that Ray-like jab Hearns had. Now Leonard was being hit hard by the taller man's jabbing. By the close of the 5th round, Leonard's left eye was swelling badly. And Hearns was clearly winning the fight on point, easily. But yeah, I'm not say easily when two grown men swinging at each other's heads, but dominantly. He was clearly winning on point, by the end of the 5th round. Now, at the start of the 6th round, Leonard's left eye was very badly swollen. And Hearns had built a lead on the judges' scorecard, right? Now Leonard, becoming more aggressive in the 6th round, he shifted styles to a swarming slugger style. And he caught Hearns with the left hook, hurting him badly. In rounds 6 and 7, Leonard got inside and was able to repeatedly hurt Hearns. And then the roles reversed, okay? After Leonard started hurting Hearns on the inside, Hearns simply shifted styles in the 8th round. That's when nobody knew how good of a boxer Tommy Hearns was up to that point. Because like I said, he was knocking everybody out, 30 knockouts in 31 fights. But when Leonard changed the fight and Leonard became the stalker and changed it to a slugfest, Hearns simply changed styles on it. Emmanuel Stewart told Hearns, he said, I saw him get hurt in about the 6th round, talking about Leonard. They were having an exchange, and I noticed Leonard got caught with a short left hook, and I never saw him hurt in his career. I saw that every time he would throw a right hand, it would be like there was some kind of way. No, Hearns got hurt. Ray was catching him, right, with the hook. So we changed plans. After he got caught and hurt, I said, look, we're going to have to change strategy. Because of his amateur background, where he was a great boxer, we resorted to change strategy. I told Tommy and Emmanuel Stewart talked, let's go back to the amateur. We're going to have to go back and start boxing. Okay? In the 8th round, the roles reversed for good, with Hearns giving up attempting to land power shots and simply boxing and moving, while Leonard stalked as a slugger, looking to take Hearns out with power shots. Remember, the fight started, Leonard was moving, Hearns was stalking. By the 8th round, they had a role reversal. Leonard was the stalker, Hearns was the mover. The Hearns used his jab to pile up points and got on his bicycle. Leonard kept trying to get inside, Hearns was able to keep him at bay with his movement and the highly effective jab. Hearns won rounds 9 through 12 on all 3 judges' scorecards. Now, if it had been a 12-round fight, Hearns would have been the undisputed champion of the world, right? He was ahead on every judge's scorecard by at least 2 rounds with 3 to go. Now, Leonard didn't need a knockout, but he needed to finish this fight strong, very strong. All Hearns really had to do was win 1 more round. He had it. Had it been a 12-round fight, Hearns had it, but it was a 15-round fight. And the championship round proved crucial. The unexpected happened between the 12th and 13th round, and the tide turned once again. Sugar Ray Leonard essentially had to shift from his normal boxer-puncher style to a swarmer, to an all-out swarming slugger in the championship rounds of the first Leonard-Hearns fight. Between round 12 and 13, Leonard's trainer, the great Angelo Dundee, told Leonard, "You're blowing it now, son. You are blowing it." Leonard shifted to an all-out swarming slugger style and went inside for good, and dropped Hearns at the end of the 13th round. Now, Hearns survived because the bell saved him for 13. Leonard would have got him out at 13, but he did not recover between 13 and 14. And Leonard came off that stool after 13 like he was shot out of a cannon, okay? Hearns survived 13 and came off for the 14th round. Leonard was able to stop him in the 14th round. This is one of the few fights in boxing history where not one, but both fighters shifted styles repeatedly. And more importantly, not only repeatedly, but effectively. Ray started out as an outboxer, switched to a swarmer, and in the end, switched to a pure swarming slugger. Hearns started out as a boxer puncher, shifted to an outboxer, and remained there for the duration of the fight. And through all those style changes, both fighters were very effective, right? Hannibal Boxing, addressing the incredible style shift during Leonard Hearns, once said, "The prevailing view going into Leonard Hearns was that Leonard was the elite boxer and he could never beat Hearns fighting it out inside. Conversely, Hearns was seen as a destroyer who lacked the ability to outbox Leonard. Little did anyone know there would be 3 fights in 1 over the course of 14 rounds that this fight lasted. They never met again at welterweight because Tommy had simply outgrown the weight class. He went on up to junior middleweight, a class where most historians consider him the greatest of all time. Now, the judges' cards at the time of the stoppage showed Leonard really did need a knockout to win, because by 14, he was still a couple rounds behind, so he needed a knockout by that point. Judge Dwayne Ford had Hearns ahead by 124-122. This is 15-round scores here. Judge Lou Tabat had Hearns ahead by 125-122. Judge Chuck Minker had Hearns ahead by 125-121. So with 2 rounds to go, Leonard was behind by 2 points on 1, 3 points on 1, and 4 points on 1, so he needed a knockout. This fight was and remains one of the great welterweight fights in history between 2 Hall of Fame champions for the undisputed welterweight title. Hearns thoroughly outboxed Leonard for most of the fight, controlling the fight with his jab until Leonard finally broke through at the end. Manny Stewart would say regretfully, Tommy beat him most of the fight. He tired in the late rounds because he was weight drained. If it had been a 12-rounder, Tommy would have won easily, but it wasn't a 12-rounder, Emmanuel. You knew that going in. Okay? Leonard beat Hearns in the 14th by realizing he had to knock out Hearns to win. And coming from behind, he channeled his inner Joe Frazier, boring inside and beat him down with a vicious body attack. At that point, Leonard needed a knockout to win, and he got it. Yep, he got it. Okay, now let's look at some of these recent fights. We're gonna look at some recent history now. Fights that knockouts that happened within the past 10 years. Okay. 1 minute, please. Pardon me for 1 second. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Okay, we're gonna look at 10 fights, 10 knockouts, recent history. Okay, recent history. You just Ryo and Chris Colbert did. Ryo and Chris Colbert. Remember that one? Chris Colbert was talking all that trash and got his butt whipped. Got stopped. Now, let's see. Now look at the 10 of the most dynamite knockouts the boxing world has witnessed in this era. In sports, there's no greater finale than the knockout. Over the years, fight fans have witnessed some of the most devastating finishes on premier boxing champions. So without further ado, here's a look at the 10 greatest knockouts in PBC history. Okay, the first one is David Benavidez versus Rogelio Medina. I thought Ryo and Colbert was first to know. The Mexican Monster and Rogelio Medina. He's a young Benavidez. Yeah, young Benavidez. Let's talk about these fights, okay? All right. This happened on May 20th, 2017. Laredo Energy Arena, Laredo, Texas. Benavidez versus Medina. Now, this was a significant moment for Benavidez as he sought to establish himself in the super middleweight division at that time. At just 20 years of age, Benavidez was an up-and-coming fighter with an undefeated record, known for his power and boxing skill. Now, Porky Medina, on the other hand, was an experienced fighter known for his rugged style, durability, and relentless pressure. He had previously faced elite fighters in the division, including a challenging loss to James DeGale in a title fight, right? This was seen as a dangerous test for the young Benavidez. Okay, yeah, this was seen as a dangerous test for Benavidez. Now, this fight was a WBC title eliminator, meaning the winner would be in line to challenge for a world title. Now, Benavidez ultimately dominated the fight, displaying his power and technical prowess by stopping Medina in the 8th round, solidifying his place among the contenders and setting him on the path toward his first world title. Okay, Benavidez over Medina. Okay, the next one is Murat Gassiev versus Jordan Schimmel. Gassiev versus Schimmel. How come that didn't change? Here's Gassiev on the left, Schimmel on the right. Murat Gassiev versus Jordan Schimmel. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about this one. Gassiev versus Schimmel. Now, this was on May 17, 2016. Black Bear Casino called. I don't have no idea where that is. Is that in Arizona? Black Bear Casino? I have no idea where that is. Okay. Gassiev versus Schimmel marked an important fight in the cruiserweight division. Gassiev, a promising young talent from Russia, was making a name for himself with his powerful punching and aggressive style. Trained by veteran trainer Abel Sanchez, he was unbeaten at the time, with a growing reputation as a future star in the division. Heading into this fight, Gassiev was already the IBF #2 ranked cruiserweight contender. And this fight was seen as a critical stepping stone toward a title shot. Schimmel, an American cruiserweight, was a skilled and athletic fighter, although he was viewed as an underdog against the hard-hitting Gassiev. Schimel had a strong amateur background and was known for his technical ability, which made him a credible opponent and a valuable test for Gassiev's ride. Now, the fight itself was an IBF title eliminator, putting the winner in a favorable position to challenge for a world title. In a definitive showing of his power, Gassiev knocked out Schimel with a devastating left hook in the first round, capturing attention across the boxing world. This win secured Gassiev's place as a top contender and paved the way for his eventual title shot against Denis Lebedev. Okay. The next one, talking about some recent history now. Erickson Lubin versus Jorge Cota. Lubin versus Cota. There they are. Cota on the left, Lubin on the right. Erickson Lubin versus Jorge Cota. March 4th, 2017. Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York. Okay. Now, Lubin versus Cota was a key matchup in the junior middleweight division, a WBC title eliminator. Erickson the Hammer Lubin, an American prospect known for his speed, power, and southpaw stance, had been climbing the ranks quickly. Lubin had turned pro at 18 and was touted as one of boxing's rising stars. Heading into this fight, he was undefeated and viewed as a serious future contender, but he needed a convincing win over a solid opponent to prove his readiness for a world title shot. Now, Jorge El Dominio Cota, a seasoned Mexican fighter, represented a significant test for Lubin. Known for his rugged style, durability, and knockout power, Cota had faced high-level competition and had the experience advantage over Lubin, right? In a fight with serious implications, the 21-year-old Lubin displayed his skill and poise, stopping Cota in the fourth round and securing his spot as a top contender. This win earned him a shot at the WBC title against Jermell Charlo later that year. Okay, and we got that one coming up. That's on this list. Lubin and Charlo. Should have been next, but no, it's not next, but it's coming. Next is doing them in order when they happen. Not really. Gervonta Davis versus Rolando Romero. Gervonta Davis versus Rolando Romero. May 28th, 2022, back at the Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York. Okay? Davis Romero. Now, this was one of the most anticipated matchups in the lightweight division in years, fueled by an intense rivalry and contrasting fighting styles. The undefeated and ultra-popular Gervonta Tank Davis had already earned a reputation as arguably boxing's biggest puncher, to go along with his elite boxing skills, ring IQ, and world titles in 3 divisions. Rolando Rolly Romero, also unbeaten, was known for his unconventional style, power, and brash personality, often taunting Davis in the lead-up to the fight. And Romero's outspoken confidence and aggressive demeanor added to the rivalry, resulting in heated exchanges and tension in press conferences and on social media. Now, Romero believed his own power and physicality could match or even surpass Davis's, making bold predictions about scoring a knockout over Davis. Davis ultimately showcased his experience and skill, knocking out Romero in the 6th round, silencing his rival and further solidifying his reputation as one of the most dangerous punchers in boxing. Yeah, he said Rolly was a stupid-ass fighter, and Rolly stood right in front of Tank and threw 2 back-to-back right hands to Tank's body and left the right side of his face wide open, right? I don't know what he was thinking about, and he paid the price for it. That ended the fight. That move right there led to the end of the fight, right? Remember that? He threw those 2 right hands? The right side of his face was wide open. And the Tank Snake's punch ended the fight. Mm-hmm. That was crazy. I don't know what Roller was thinking about. He was doing a good job up to that point, though. Okay, so here's the one that Lubin Kota title dilemma led to. Jermell Charlo versus Erickson Lubin. That's what ended up happening. Okay, that's Lubin on the mat there. Jermell Charlo versus Erickson Lubin. Okay, this was back at the Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York, October 14th, 2017. Well, that is a historic day, October 14th. That's the birthdays of the great attentive Ant McQueen and the one and only Cash Sports the Box Historian, October 14th. About 30 years in between those two birthdays, but I was 57 on that day, 2007, October 14th. Ant was probably 20-something. But a historic day, October 14th, 2017. And that's when this fight was. Jermell Charlo versus Erickson Lubin. Charlo's WBC super welterweight world title was on the line for this fight, right? Now, no one expected Charlo Lubin to end so quickly and decisively. Charlo, the undefeated WBC super welterweight champion, was already an established force, a rising star in the sport and the division. Known for his precision and knockout ability, Charlo aimed to solidify his position as the best in the weight class. Now, the 22-year-old Lubin was considered a prodigy, an unbeaten southpaw who possessed every attribute necessary to become a great. And coming off of that big win over Kota, remember? The 27-year-old Charlo, however, possessed those same traits. Now, the fight generated excitement due to the contrast between Charlo's experience and Lubin's raw potential. And there was plenty of trash talk leading up to the showdown, setting the stage for one of the most anticipated fights in recent memory. And with his reputation on the line, Jermell showed his clutch gene, landing a short, punishing right in the very first round that floored Lubin for good, right? A statement performance that established him as king of the division. Because going in, coming off their Kota performance, everybody was like, hold up. I don't know. This young cat Lubin, I don't know, Mel. Mel was like, you don't know, watch this. First round knockout. Mel said, do you know now? That was a statement performance for Mel right there. Nobody thought, I was picking Mel, but I didn't think he was going to get him out of in the first round like that. Wow. Statement performance for Jamel in that one. Yeah. Okay. The next one is Deontay Wilder versus Dominic Breazeale. Right. Wilder Breazeale. Remember that one? Yeah. Okay. This was on May 18th, 2019, back at the Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York. Yeah, these are all PBC fights. They use the Barclays Center a lot. Wilder's WBC heavyweight world title was on the line. Okay. Okay, yeah, we were working a good time. Now, Wilder versus Breazeale was marked by intense personal animosity and high stakes in the heavyweight division. Unbeaten Wilder, the reigning WBC heavyweight champion and the heaviest hitter in the heaviest weight class, was coming off a controversial split draw against Tyson Fury in 2018, right? The Bronx Bomber was eager to make a statement and reaffirm his dominance in the division. Now, Breazeale, a former title challenger, was known as a durable and resilient fighter with his own knockout power. This was his opportunity to secure redemption and claim his first world championship. Now, the rivalry between Wilder and Breazeale grew increasingly heated with altercations between their camps, leading to a serious grudge match atmosphere. Wilder needed only one round to remind the boxing world why he was the world's most feared heavyweight. A single right hand in the first round was loud enough to cause many ringsiders to jump out of their seats, and powerful enough to leave Breazeale flat on his back for one of the most memorable knockouts in modern heavyweight boxing. Yeah, that's the one that put him down, but he's on the way down, trust me. Now the next one, got a couple more, is Chris Colbert versus Jose Rayo Valenzuela. 2. This was 2. Remember, Colbert got the nod in 1, right? So Rayo said, I'm not even going to put it in the judge's hands this time. This was December 16th, 2023, at the Armory, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I can never say that right. Minneapolis, is that right? Minneapolis, Minnesota. Okay. Now, the anticipated rematch between Colbert and Rayo Valenzuela followed the intense first fight in March 2023, earlier that same year. So they had an immediate rematch, which was marked by controversy and razor-thin scorecards, which gave Colbert the win by the slightest of margins. Now, the contentious result left both fighters wanting a clear outcome. Colbert aimed to prove his skills and resilience while securing a decisive victory this time, while Rayo sought to validate his performance and avenge what he and his supporters viewed as an unjust decision. Yeah, I did too. I thought Rayo won the first one too. But the second one, he put an exclamation point on it. Now, the rematch fueled excitement as both fighters promised to leave no doubt this time, making a must-watch showdown for boxing fans. Yeah, both promised a knockout this time, right? Now, this fight wasn't anywhere near as close as the first one. Rayo jumped out to an early lead, establishing himself as the better boxer and puncher, right? His dominance grew with each passing round, and in the 5th, he uncorked a whipping right hook as Colbert languished along the rope. The shot caught the Brooklyn native flush on his jaw. And guess what? No count was needed. No count was needed. It was OVA, over. OVA, over. Over. Okay, not OVER, OVA, over. Okay, the next one. Deontay Wilder versus Arthur Sapilka. And I won some nice money. I picked the knockout for Rayo too. I made out on that one. I sure did. Thank you, Rayo. Okay, the next one is Deontay Wilder versus Arthur Sapilka. Okay. This was January 16th, 2016. This was back at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Wilder's WBC heavyweight title on the line. This was an intriguing clash of style and personality. Undefeated and boasting a high knockout ratio, Wilder was eager to defend his title for the 3rd time and continue his rise in the heavyweight division. Now, Sapilka, a Polish southpaw, entered the fight as an underdog, but was seen as a potentially challenging stylistic matchup for Wilder. Okay? Known for his agility, movement, and confidence, Sapilka was determined to make history by becoming the first Polish heavyweight champion. And he was vocal about doing it, right? He was vocal about doing it. Now, the build-up was intense, with Sapilka's confidence and trash talking adding tension to the fight's promotion. That confidence carried over to the fight, where Sapilka had his moments as Wilder sought to figure out his style, right? Now, the back and forth enthralled those ringside at Barclays Center. Then, in the 9th round, Wilder landed a short, powerful right hand that flattened Sapilka. The dramatic victory cemented Wilder's reputation as the premier puncher in the heavyweight division. And this was a big one here. Okay, I don't think nobody picked this fight to end like this. And anybody say they did, they lying. Taylor Plant, Anthony Durrell. I had Durrell. Okay, so let's look at what happened. Yeah, Caleb Plant, Anthony Durrell. This was on October 15th, 2022. Told you recent history today. Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York. Now, like so many fights on this list, the lead up to Plant Darrell was charged with tension and animosity. The two super middleweight contenders, it was filled with animosity as they prepared the clash. Okay. Now, Plant, the former IBF champion at super middleweight, was coming off his first loss to Canelo, remember, in a high-profile unification fight, where he gave a strong account of himself. Oh, Canelo carried him to the distance. I thought Canelo could have stopped Plant. Yeah. But anyway, that was his first loss, coming off of the Canelo fight when he fought Darrell. Now, known for his smooth boxing skills, quick footwork, and sharp counterpunching, Plant was eager to rebound with a statement win. This fight was crucial to reestablish himself as a top contender in the division and pushing toward another title opportunity. Now, Darrell, a seasoned former two-time champion, brought experience, grit, and power to the matchup. Darrell was also hungry for another shot at the title, and he had expressed frustration over not getting the respect he felt he deserved. Now, leading up to the fight, both fighters exchanged heated words and insults, with Darrell questioning Plant's heart and toughness, while Plant dismissed Darrell as a yesterday's fighter. He called Darrell yesterday's news, remember? That's what he called him. Now, they fought each other with a mixture of respect and disdain. Few, if any, however, foresaw what occurred in the 9th round. Told you, nobody. When Plant dug a left hook to Darrell's ribs, paused for a second before coming up top with another left hook that detonated on the chin, Darrell crumpled to the canvas, giving Plant a highlight reel fight finale that won PBC's Knockout of the Year award, silenced his critics, and reaffirmed his position among the elite super middleweights until he ran into the Mexican monster. I added that part. Okay, yeah, I think we got one more. Yeah, this is the last one. Yeah, until he ran into David Benavidez, then that reputation was gone again. Okay, final one. Devontae Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz. Devontae Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz. Okay. October 31st, 2020, Halloween. Remember? The Alamo Dome, San Antonio, Texas. Now, Davis's WBA lightweight title was on the line, and Leo's WBA super featherweight world title. You know, that don't happen that often. Two different division titles was on the line in the same fight, right? On Halloween night in San Antonio, Texas, Devontae Tank Davis delivered one of the most frightening endings in modern boxing history. Leo Santa Cruz, a 4-division world champion and well-respected Mexican warrior, represented the most accomplished opponent of Davis's young career and a serious threat with his fan-friendly style and relentless approach to in the ring. Now, Davis, known for his explosive knockout ability, entered the fight as a rising star in boxing with an undefeated record and a reputation for spectacular finishes. Already a 2-division champion, Davis aimed to showcase his skills on a bigger stage as he made his first pay-per-view event. Headliner, right? That was the first time he headlined a pay-per-view. He had been on the undercards of some Floyds, but that was his first time headlining. It was the Leo fight, right? This was a pivotal moment in Tank's career. Now, the fight carried additional intrigue as both fighters put their titles on the line in a rare cross-division showdown at 130 and 135, right? And it was good as advertised as both men went to war from the opening bell. That was a very good fight. Leo gave a very good account of himself until he got caught by that uppercut in the 6th, I think. The high-octane back-and-forth crescendoed in the 6th round when Davis landed a devastating left uppercut, knocking Leo out in one of the most memorable finishes fight fans had ever witnessed. Did they get knockout of the year? That's the honorable mentions. Jamal Charlo versus Julian J. Rock Williams. Jamal Charlo versus Hugo Centeno. Jamel Charlo versus Brian Castano 2. Isaac Pitbull Cruz versus Diego Magdalena. Gervonta Davis versus Jose Pedraza. Robert Easter Jr. versus Argenis Mendez. Sebastian Fundora versus Brian Mendoza. Mark Maceo versus Julio Sager. David Morrell versus Yamaguchi Falcao. Luis Ortiz versus Razvan Pajanu. Adonis Stevenson versus Thomas Williams. Yennefer Vicente versus Juan Dominguez. Rashe Warren versus Damian Vasquez. Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz. And Deontay Wilder versus Bermain Stilvain. Yeah, a little bit more too. A couple more great knockouts. Okay. Let's see. Let me get them going for you. A couple more. Short. These are short. Just some all-time great knockouts today. That's all. Okay. It's hump day. We got the GOAT, and we got young rising Puerto Rican star this weekend, Xander Zayas, back in action. Undefeated Xander Zayas, I might add. So yeah, that's going to be good. Exciting young fighter in the junior middleweight division, Xander Zayas. Been chasing Virgil Ortiz, but you know, Virgil told him, "You're not ready yet, son." So yeah, that would be a good one though. I think right now, I probably would lean toward Virgil in it, but you know, Xander would give a good accounting of himself. Might pull it out. You know. Now Boots up there in the mix. 154 just got that much more interesting, you know. 154 is a hot division, man. They were talking about lightweight and 140, 154 don't fight. Throw Earl Spence into the mix. I think Earl just got one more fight into him. He's gonna get destroyed again and one more fight and go on out to pass. Yeah. I think he's still suffering ill effects from the accident he had. You see in the blood fight, it looked like under his face was turning red under his face. I seen fighters get cut and swollen up, but never their face just turned red like that on the inside, man. Like something ain't right with this guy, man. So yeah, I just hope he don't get hurt bad in there. I don't know. That's just what I think. Sit his ass down some damn way. That's what I'm trying to say. And I was an Earl fan, but it's time to sit it down, Earl. You can't need money. You know, make some good money in his career. Got that big ranch down there in Texas. So I don't know, but we'll see. Let's look at these last few fights, okay? Okay, this is some trouble. The all-time knockouts, all-time greatest knockouts of all time. Like I was saying, few things in all of sports are as electrifying as the one-punch knockout, right? And these are the most consequential and stunning of them all. To make the cut here, the knockout must not only be spectacular and dramatic, but it must be truly a single devastating shot from the blue punch deciding the outcome of a fight, as opposed to the ending of a one-sided beatdown, right? So without further ado, here are some of the greatest one-punch knockouts ever. Okay. Of course, the first one is what's the first one? Sergio Martinez and Paul Williams. I was remember Sergio got Paul out of there the second round. That's not it. That was my introductory picture. Here's Sergio and Paul. Yeah. Sergio just went for it. Now, yeah. November 20th, 2010. Now, the previous December, These two southpaws had given fans 12 rounds of exciting action and a Fight of the Year candidate, with Williams taking a close, razor-thin points win. So if you had wanted to wager that either, let alone Martinez, would win the return by stunning one-shot knockout in just the second round, you would have had people eagerly lining up to take your money. But in fact, you would be the one adding the cabbage to your wallet after Maravilla caught Williams with a perfectly timed overhand left that detonated on Williams' jaw and knocked him out cold. The Punisher's eyes wide open as he lay insensate on the canvas. Williams had never been stopped before in his career, but he didn't move a muscle as he was counted out. Didn't he really need a count? It was a stunning outcome and one that solidified the Argentine standing as the best middleweight in the world at that time. Yep. Maravilla, Sergio Martinez. Next, Hasim Rahman versus Lennox Lewis. This was a huge upset. There's Lennox. There's Lennox laying there. April 22nd, 2001. Rahman was a 15-1 underdog when he faced Lewis in South Africa. But he didn't look like one as he gave as good as he got through 4 rounds. In the 5th round, he backed Lennox to the ropes, feinted, and then unleashed a right hand from hell that toppled Lewis and relieved him of his world heavyweight championship. Rahman upended all expectations and forced everyone to reevaluate the standing of the supposedly dominant Lewis. But he did win the rematch. Lennox beat everybody that he ever fought, even the ones he lost to. His 2 losses was Rahman and Oliver McCall. He came back and beat both of them. Okay. Next, we go back. James J. Jeffries and James Corbett. Okay. I think that's James J. Jeffries right there. Yeah. This was May 11th, 1900. Everyone loves an underdog, especially a former champion who unexpectedly summons up some of his past glory. Now, Corbett had been written off by most after his losses to Bob Fitzsimmons and Tom Sharkey. But for 22 rounds, and to the delight of the assembled spectators, he gave the hulking Jeffries a boxing lesson and appeared on his way to an historic victory. But a single right to the jaw knocked Gentleman Jim unconscious in round 23 and silenced the crowd. The punch put an end to Corbett as a legitimate title great and cemented the status of Jeffries, aka the Boilermaker, as the best heavyweight in the world at that time. A standing that remained unquestioned for almost an entire decade. Yep. Julian Jackson versus Harold Graham. Julian Jackson versus Harold Graham. Okay. Now, November 24th, 1990. One of the most brutal and awe-inspiring one-punch knockouts ever witnessed. One lead-fisted Julian Jackson his second divisional title and further cemented his reputation as an all-time great puncher. The favorite Graham had dominated the first 3 rounds to such an extent that Jackson's eyes were swelling shut, both of them. And after the 3rd round, the ringside doctor informed the Hawk that he would soon have no choice but to stop the fight. The one-sided boxing lesson continued in round 4 before Jackson suddenly struck with a vicious right hook that instantly knocked Graham out cold. And the doctor was thinking about stopping the fight and giving it to Graham because of all the damage he had did to Jackson. Jackson knocked him out cold with one punch. Wow. Antonio Tarver versus Roy Jones Jr. There's Roy. Out. May 15, 2004. For years, a very cocky Roy Jones Jr. appeared unbeatable. Then very suddenly, he wasn't. He had never been seriously hurt, let alone stopped. And his lone defeat up to that point was by disqualification. Scores of fans regarded him as a modern great, whose name could be uttered in the same breath as that of Willie Pep or Sugar Ray Robinson. So imagine the shock when they saw a single left hook from underdog Tarver in the fight in only the second round. Okay? Tarver got him out of there in the second round. So imagine the shock of the fan when that happened. Okay? Mike Weaver and Big John Tate. We talked about this one before, but this was the big one. The Big John Tate was on the way to an Ali fight. All he had to do was get past this one. But that's him laying on the mat there. Big Mike Weaver and Big John Tate. They were both big. Very big. Okay? Now, March 31st, 1980. Knockout wins don't come more dramatic than this one. Tate may have been a paper champion, but he was highly regarded by many and was being groomed for a big money fight against ex-champion Muhammad Ali. All he had to do was get by Weaver, a journeyman with 9 losses on his record. For 14 rounds, Big John Tate dominated the challenge, but in the 15th round, a desperate Big Mike Weaver got home the biggest punch of his career. A left hook that put Tate to the sleep. That single hook changed completely the lives of both men. Weaver would remain a force in the heavyweight division for years to come, while Tate quickly faded away. Big Mike Weaver over Big John Tate. Big John Tate dominated for 14 rounds, but Big Mike Weaver got that one shot in the 15th round and knocked out Big John Tate. They were both big. Yeah. Watch the fight and see what I'm talking about. Yeah, but Big John Tate was in line for the Ali fight. All he had to do was get past Big Mike Weaver, but he couldn't do it. He almost did, but they hadn't gone to 12. They had 15-round fights. Couple more. Jersey Joe Walcott and Everett Charles. That's Everett. They had a couple of fights. Okay. This was on July 18th, 1951. I think this probably was one. Okay. This was probably one. Define Arnie said, the Hawk Jackson versus Graham was that was a nasty one, Define Arnie, wasn't it? Yeah, okay. So, here's the Joe Everett. In this, his record 5th attempt at the heavyweight title. Jersey Joe Walcott was a 9-1 underdog, not to mention the oldest challenger ever for the heavyweight title. 2 previous meetings between Charles and Walcott, this was 3, had been decided by the scorecards. But this time, Jersey Joe abruptly landed a massive left hook in the 7th round that put the great Cincinnati Cobra down for the count. A single perfect shot redeemed all the travails of Walcott's 15-year quest for the title. Yep, just one shot. Gotta mention this one when you talk of one shot. I've talked about this a lot, but one more time. Got you. Manuel Marquez and Manny Pacquiao, December 8th, 2012. See, Manny should have stopped at the trilogy. Went on to the 4th fight and see what happened. That's Manny over there. Face down. I was thinking bring the stretcher at first. Like, damn. I'm talking about the, what they call him? The Undertaker, man. That stretcher. Manny wasn't moving. That was one of them wife in the audience crying type of jobs there, man. I was like, yeah, get the stretcher, man. I ain't talking about taking him to the hospital. And guess what? He fought this past weekend. Man, he survived it. Anyway, did the fifth greatest one-punch knockout of all time really happen as recently as 2012? Yes, it did. When a single blow completely alters the careers and legacies of two of the best boxers of recent decades, and also realigns the dynamic of one of boxing's most significant rivalries, then it has to rank high on this list. Adding the fact that Pacquiao boasts an excellent chin, and Marquez appeared to be making the worst of things up to that point, right? With his huge right here, Manny was getting the best of that one. His huge right hand decided matters. And you had a knockout for the ages. Yeah, Manny did that little thing where he threw that double jab, right? And then coming that right. But Marquez went over top of that second jab with that overhand right up. Pooper. And damn, I said, oh my goodness, he done killed Manny, man. Damn. Wow. But yeah, Manny survived. He fought this past weekend. Ain't nothing wrong with Manny. He made it. He just fought Saturday. I can make jokes about it. He's okay. Mm-hmm. He get like 15 minutes of link time. Yeah, he's okay. He just fought Saturday. You know, you make sure the person okay, then laugh at them, right? But make sure they're okay first. Then laugh your ass off at them. Every student in elementary school, somebody fall or something. Is he okay? Yeah. Then take the laugh. We was playing baseball one time, you know, and the teacher was the gym teacher was throwing the ball up and hitting it to us out in the field, and the guy standing there catching the ball back home. So he tossed the ball up and swung. Hit the guy's head instead of the ball, man. It wasn't funny at first. And magically, the guy was okay. He went down, but he got back up. I knew he had to have a headache, but he swung and hit the guy's head instead of the ball. Wow, that was funny. It wasn't at first, but when he got up, man, damn. Everybody was like, I knew who I'm not going to get in a fight with. Not that guy. If the baseball bat couldn't take him out, there wasn't no use me throwing hands with him. No way. You want my lunch money? Here, take it. He hit him upside the head with that baseball bat. He went down, but he got up and was okay. Like I said, you want my lunch money? Take it. What else? Here, what else? Want my shoes? They're yours. Ain't nothing I can do with you. Man, that was crazy though. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna get a little link time. How's everybody? What is it? Half day? Yeah. This time going by so fast, man. It's just crazy. Wow. It's almost the weekend already, but I'm happy. These end desires to vote. You know, I'm hearing that talk about Layla Ali and the vote, but I hope not. We don't need that. Layla Ali is almost 50, man. But it's been like almost 20 years since she fought. I saw her doing an interview the other day. She said she needs 8 months. She's gonna have an 8-month camp. If you gotta have an 8-month camp, you don't belong in the ring, okay? You gotta have an 8-month training camp. That's a signal. It's time to give it up, right? That's what she said. The guy was asking, well, how long are you going to have your training camp to get ready? You haven't fought in so long. He said 8 months. I said, it's Layla, no. No. But they say the power is less than the ghost. She had 21 knockouts in 24 fights, so maybe she'll get a lucky one in or something. But I got the GOAT outboxing her thoroughly. But who knows? Who knows? There's the link if anybody wants it. Okay, but I'm gonna keep on with these knockouts until, you know, I think it's going out if not. Then after Manny and Juan Manuel, we had Sugar Ray Robinson and Gene Foreman. That was a funny one too, because Gene Foreman said when he got knocked out, he woke up and he looked across the ring and saw Sugar Ray standing in the opposite corner. That's where the referee sent him. But Gene Foreman said he thought they was getting ready for the next round. He said he thought Sugar Ray was just waiting to come out for the next round. He didn't even realize he had just got knocked out, right? Thought he was just, until he realized he wasn't in his corner. He was laying out on the mat. He said he looked up, first thing he saw was Sugar Ray Robinson standing over there in the corner. He thought he was getting ready to come out for the next round. You know? I guess he said, why am I laying out here in the middle of the mat though? We getting ready for the next round. And that was Sugar Ray Robinson versus Gene Foreman. That was May 1st, 1957. Now, Gene Foreman was, without question, one of the toughest boxers of all time, right? Now, he doesn't make the top 12 all-time best chin list for the simple reason that unlike the guys who did, he suffered a knockout and a clean one at that, right? Now, where was it? Now, which is why being a bit hard on the you talk Cyclone, right? Now, after all, it was the one and only Sugar Ray Robinson, and the only time in his career that he got knocked out, right? Now, Robinson landed his famous, they called that the perfect punch. That's a famous classic punch, right? And he had lost to Foreman a few months before that, and it looked as if the rematch might yield a similar result until Sugar Ray got that punch in. It was a deadly left hook. They called it the perfect punch. Yep, that's what they called it. The perfect punch. Mm-hmm. And then we had Rocky Marciano in Jersey Joe. You know about that one. I can almost quote that one by heart. Jersey Joe was dominating for 12 rounds. You know, giving Rocky a boxing lesson, but you know, Rocky had got that one punch fight-changing power, and in the 13th round, it changed, and Jersey Joe went down, and that was the end of it. There he is, right there. They say he was out on the mat for 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes on the mat, man. Yeah. There's another shot of it right there. He's asleep already, right? That's Suzy Q that got him. Looked like it was a right hook. See, the way his arm bent in a follow through. Looked like a right hook to me. But whatever it was, it put the man to sleep before he hit the mat, and he was out for 5 minutes. And Jersey Joe always carried his left hand dangerously low against Rocky Marciano, right? That's crazy. How you gonna carry your hand low against the man, the owner of Suzy Q? Then you see what happened to him. Yep. Then we had Bob Fitzsimmons versus James Corbett. That was March 17th, 1897. Another one way back in the past. Is Bob Fitzsimmons. He was one of the only men to go from middleweight all the way to heavyweight. The only other man was Roy Jones. They did it 100 years apart. Yep. He knocked out James Corbett in the 14th round. Fitzsimmons did. Then we had George Foreman and Michael Moorer. That's the final one. Remember? Big George made all kinds of history in that fight. He became the oldest man to win the heavyweight title. It was the longest time in between one man winning the title, longest time in between the man holding the title and winning it again, 20 years. And it was the biggest age differential between two heavyweight opponents in a championship fight. Foreman was 19 years older than Michael Moorer. So he broke 3 records in that fight when he knocked Michael Moorer out that time. tomorrow we're gonna take a shot at boxing around the world again. It's gonna be we're gonna I'm gonna go through it and find a nice big country to do. We're gonna skip over those little countries like Albania and Algeria. It's like pulling your teeth out trying to find it. Pulling your own teeth with a pair of pliers. Trying to find them little countries. So it might be Canada tomorrow. Okay, I haven't decided on a profile for Friday yet, but by Friday we'll have one. Okay. So that's gonna be the week. Getting late in this week now. Hope everybody enjoyed today's show. It's been a pleasure bringing it to you. Okay. Puro Sir Define Arnie, Mike Grimm, Mike Magic, the Drunk Irishman, and Mr. Jazz. Okay. Let me see. Oh, excuse me for 1 minute. Okay. Go ahead and close it down, but one moment. Oh, right. Okay. It's over now. Okay. All right. Okay, I appreciate everybody for coming through today. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 again. We're going to look at the junior bantamweight division, 112, top 10. I think we're going to look at a history of boxing in Canada tomorrow. And we're going to have the pound for pound list Wednesday at the end of all the active fighters. Top 10 actors in all the divisions. We're going to look at a pound for pound list next Wednesday. And then after that, the highlights of boxing history for the first half of our show. We're going to look at an old classic fight every day to start the show after we get finished with the active top 10 rankings in each division starting next Thursday. We're just going to look at a classic fight for the highlight of boxing history to start each show for the foreseeable future. Okay, I'll pick out a classic every day and look at an old fight. Okay, I appreciate everybody for coming through today. Okay, this is Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. It's the Box Storia bringing you all that boxing. Everybody have a great afternoon. Let's put the Hump Day edition. Have a good one.